Drunken Hat.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Magic the Gathering Arena. Today we're going over the deck list for Recursion, which is the Orvar, the all-form deck. Orvar is a pretty neat card in general. I wish it was multiple colors so that I wouldn't just be locked into blue only while playing him. But blue has the most utility for what I'm trying to do, so it's not the worst. I wish he were had green or red just so I could capitalize on all the green and red spells that buff. So I could be buffing my stuff instead of just bouncing it to my hand and making copies. That'd be the ideal set. But anyway, he's a 3/3 changeling for 4, and he has whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, you can create a token copy of one of those permanents. Basically, it turns every one of your instants and sorceries into a copy spell. Now, keep in mind that multiple target spells will still trigger, but they'll only trigger on one of the targets. Also, he just has the bonus if like he's in your hand and your opponent makes you discard him, you get to create a token copy that's a token copy of any permanent on the field. Also, he doesn't just say creatures; he says permanents. So he actually really works with some nice enchantments out there. I don't have it in the deck, but I really considered adding it. But like, wizard class? I think the mana. The reason I didn't put it in is because I think the mana investment might have been a little too much. But having multiple wizard classes out there means you not only have a very assured unlimited hand size, but you've also drawn 2 cards for each of the level 2s, at least. And then if you get towards late game, if you have multiples, you can just start putting the +1/+1 counters on all of your stuff. It's something I thought about, but in general I was like, not really. I'm not really. Not feeling it. But hey, let's get into the rest of the deck. Starting with, I think, one of the most fun targets for Orvar to copy. You turn 1 Ruin Crab, and you turn 2 Trickster's Talisman, or you turn 2 draw. Actually, turn 2 Trickster's Talisman plus like a Brainstorm, or any of the other, or like an Opt, or Otherworldly Gaze. This does not get played enough. But then on turn 3, you equip the Talisman, smack them with the Crab. Not only are you dealing the disrespect damage from them being hit by a Ruin Crab in the face, but you're also getting 2 Ruin Crabs. And then whenever you play a land, your opponent's milling 6, which hurts. Because when you're playing the mill strategy, which this isn't super, like, mill focused, so it's not going to be, like, the hard mill. Most of the mill in here is just to exploit it by creating multiple copies of it. For example, the Ruin Crab, or the... Whoa, where is it? Teferi's Tutelage, or the Psychic Corrosion. Just, like, getting copies of the permanents that mill your opponent can result in a big mill. Which, against the deck that this faced, which was the Scarab God deck, not the best idea because they have Reanimate, but if you're against most decks, they're going to be like, well, look at all this nonsense that I've just lost. Anyway, key targets. Pursued Whale, amazing target. Just because it's an 8/8, it gives them pirates that just screw with them. And it's just really annoying when you have a lot of the Pursued Whales on the field for your opponent. Kiora Best the Sea God. You are on a timer for this, but it's not legendary. So if you target it with some of your enchantment, like, say you play Kiora Best the Sea God, right? Turn 1, boom. Then turn 2, well, you get the Kraken. It's a big blocker that first turn. It's got hexproof. It's nearly invincible. Turn 2, the tap all non-land permanents. They don't untap happens. And then, on that turn 2, you also... You have Orvar out, obviously. But then you play... let's see. What's the good one? Yes, Teferi's Time Twist. So, you played Teferi's Time Twist targeting the Kiora Best the Sea God with Orvar. First of all, you get a copy of Kiora Best the Sea God. Another 8/8 Kraken. And then you blink it, and at end of turn it comes in, you get another Kraken. Then your next turn, you're tapping all their non-land things again, and you just try to, like, you just kind of continue that. Callous Dismissal, return the Kiora to your hand, get another copy, and you try to just keep all your opponent's non-lands just locked for, it can win games, basically. That's one of the more expensive ones. One of the cheekier ones is the Sludge Monster, because it's just hilarious. Like, you're like, look, I have a 5/5, all of your stuff is losing all its abilities, also I have more than one Sludge Monster, so no matter what you play, they're all always going to be 2/2s. Dungeon Geist, another really good one. Tap down one of their creatures permanently. I have Thassa in here, not to copy her or make her a copy, but just because a lot of these things have enter triggers that I'm copying, and being able to blink an enter trigger creature is always relevant. Like, maybe shift the, move the target on the Dungeon Geist, why not? The Sage Road Denizen, if you have another blue creature, you can blink that blue creature. Sage's Road Denizen triggers again. Having multiple Sage's Road Denizens is kind of like one of the bigger win conditions in this, because if you get like 3 or... yeah, I'd say 3 or 4 of these guys, and you have a reliable blink source, you're just like, mill 6 cards, mill 6 cards, mill 6 cards. Psychic Corrosion is pretty good. Let's see. Where'd the other one go? I forget what it's called, but it's a... I think it's Ducast, actually. Yeah, Drown Secrets whenever you cast a blue spell. This is also a really good one, because mono blue. Just free mill for your opponent. Yeah, then we're running all the tiny, like, return target permanent you control, because you really want to target yourself. Let's see, Fading Hope. This, being able to scry off bouncing something, bouncing most of the creatures that you're playing. Also really good. Dazzling Lights. I play this purely because it has Surveil. Like, even if you play this on your opponent's creature just to take 3 less damage, getting to Surveil 2 is, like, manipulating your top deck is very relevant sometimes. Also, sometimes you can just, like, really cheekily be like, oh, you're Ratatosker. Guess what's not dealing damage? And then they're like, but I want to draw cards. But yeah, Brainstorm, obviously, it's got really cool art, and it's one of the most powerful blue spells in the game. But yeah, Mass Manipulation, again, one of the more powerful blue spells if you're running mono blue, or even if you're running 2 colors with that like blue and something else, this is still worth playing. Even though it's the 4 blue, which is really hard to get in lots of multicolor decks, just being able to pay 5 and take your opponent's commander, Planeswalkers included. So taking your opponent's Planeswalker commander, you're like, yeah, baby. Especially if it's like a Bolas Walker's deck. You're like, I'll take your commander that you've already plussed, and then I'll minus it and destroy another one of your... I believe that's the ability that I'm thinking. But he does say all Planeswalkers on the battlefield, by the way. So you take your opponent's Bolas, and you're like, ooh, look at all these Planeswalker abilities that I have. Thank you. Thank you. And then you can, later in the game, you can pay 7 or 9 and take 3 things, and you're just like, thanks for that board state, bud. I really appreciate it. Ageless Insight, always relevant. Ageless Insight plus Brainstorm. I'll draw 6 cards. Thank you very much. Leyline of Anticipation, I put it in. It's a little bit of my personal, like, favorite secret tech. Like, you just have it. You probably don't ever play it, even if you draw it. It's kind of a dead card most of the time, but those times when you start with it and then you're playing the entire game on your opponent's end step. So delicious. So wonderful. But yeah, that we have the Illyrios because... Look at him. Look what he does. He doesn't untap, but he makes you a 3/2 attacker. And then, when the 3/2 attacker dies, he starts untapping. And even in that case, you could start making copies of him. You can bounce him with Dacid to get more reflections, because the reflections aren't legendary. If the reflections were legendary, no one would ever play this guy ever. But he's there so you can blink him, so you can return him to your hand and play him again, and just get all these 3/2 reflections for 3. Yeah, it's really good. Also, cards like this where it splits the threat, where it's like, okay, there's a 3/2 reflection, but there's also this Ilarios who's making the 3/2 reflection, and they're like, which one am I gonna kill? It's pretty relevant sometimes. Yeah, this is really fun. This is really fun, especially when you hit their land. Like, if you go first, hitting turn 3 and play... Say I have a Ruin Crab, right? I haven't even played... This is, like, not having Orvar at all. Turn 3, you've played, like, a Ruin Crab, or Trickster's Talisman, or, honestly, any of your permanents in the first 2 turns. Turn 3, you hit your land, you play Aether Tradelands, you bounce whatever creature or artifact or whatever you have played to your hand, and then you bounce your opponent's land. This is... They've had 2 turns. They have 2 lands. You turn that down to 1? Oh, it sets them behind so much. You can win on the sheer tempo shift. But yeah, it's even better when you like are playing it later game and you bounce like their powerful thing. Plus you get another copy of Kiora, Best the Sea God, or whatever. Dream Eater, also really fun. It's really nice, because it's a first of all, it's a 4/3 flyer, which don't sleep on those. 4/3 flyer, that's very powerful. Secondly, you surveil 4. You're looking at the top 4 cards of your deck and pitching whatever you don't need. You're setting up your next, at least your next 2 to 3 draws. Potentially 4 draws if you, like, open it up and you're like, whoa, I want all 4 of these. And then you arrange them however you want. And then, on top of that, if it just was a 4/3 flyer that surveilled 4 when it enters, that would be enough. But he also bounces a non-land permanent to your opponent controls to their hand. So you just slap him down, you bounce one of their permanents, set up your top deck, it's everything you could ever want. And then you start copying it? You start getting multiples? Especially if you're hitting the same permanent turn after turn. And they're like, I'm trying to play my deck! But yeah, I have 1 counterspell, and that's because it fit. The rest of the deck, I really needed to focus on permanents and, like, just trying to copy my things. I might, in fact, back some of this, cut some of this out. Probably some of the more, some of the lighter, mill spells. And maybe put in a full counter package. Just because I'm playing mono blue. I have some removal, but the removal that I have is honestly kind of weird. Like, you've got the the transmutation, you've got the frogify, basically bouncing things to their hand, maybe getting the counter spell off, or, as you saw in the game, getting your opponent's commander with a frogify or a Casmina's transformation. It really, really can set them back. But yeah. Bounty of the Deep. I played it. And you know what? I really like it. This is a very nice spell. Just being able to, like that turn 3 when I played it, or I think it was turn 4 actually when I played it, because I was expecting counter magic, which he had, so I made the right call. I didn't have a land, and I was like, I could really use a land right now. So getting that land plus just a random non-land is 2 cards for 1. And then if you have that land, even if it's like turn 4, you've got the land in hand, but it's your only land, you could delay playing that land, cast Bounty of the Deep, and then play the last land. Then your hand is just full of just non-lands. So yeah, I like the card. I'm not sold on this. Just because at 6 mana, I want to be playing things like Dream Eater, I want to be playing things like Shark Typhoon, things that are going to set me up to win. Not really, like, randomly getting some of these and reducing the mana cost of everything in your hand, to be fair. But, you know. So I'm not sold on it, but I'm also not, like, hating it. So we'll see how it goes. In Bolas Clutches, it is 6 mana, but you steal your opponent's commander, and then you proceed to copy in Bolas Clutches as many times as you want. I'm definitely going to make a commander deck using this guy at some point. Just because, look at him. Look at him. Number one, this is like the Reflection Evil J style. But number two, this is like, he copies himself. And when he makes that non-legendary copy, then Orvar can copy the when you kick him and you create that the non-legendary copy, you can copy the non-legendary copy, and then it won't be legendary anymore. So you can have, like, so many of these. You're just like, I'll scry 2, I'll set up my top deck for whenever. If you just start scrying 2 on both of them, you're like, I'm gonna look at the top, potentially 4 cards every single turn, get rid of what I don't want, and just be set up. And then maybe you scry with one and you're like, I need this card right now. The other Jays can draw it for you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Caliphate is just in there to kind of protect everything. I should have Kira in here, honestly. Maybe not, because Kira does count my spells. Yeah. No. I'm just gonna keep it down to Caliphate. Because the, having Kira in and having to, like, double play my spells, not really great. Man, I wish, even, like, a blue-red would be really cool, because then you could play, I copy my instants of sorceries, I copy my creatures, I copy my permanents. Hey, I'm gonna play Alchemist Retrieval, for 1, and then I'm going to copy it 3 times, and I'm going to point all 3 of those copies at a Teferi's Tutelage. I'm now drawing a bunch of cards, and you're losing a bunch of cards. Thank you. All cards that conjure cards into your hand for free that don't, like, you don't have to pay a cost or discard a card are all amazing. Like, there's no reason not to run them. And this can get, like, the Nadir, Kraken. Not much of this is great, but, like, if you hit a Serpent of the Yawning Depths, if you hit, like, more Ruin Crabs, if you hit a Fleet Swallower, you never want to run Fleet Swallower. 7 mana for a 6/6. Yes, its attack is very powerful, but unless you have some way to slap haste on that thing, that's still a risk. Like, even if you have 8 mana and you Samut Sprint or any kind of 1-cost haste, yikes. They swing, they mill half their library, which in Brawl is a lot. But then, by the time it's 7 mana, they have a blocker that can probably kill it. And even if they don't, they have a kill spell. But if you get it off a Tireless Angler, oh yeah, you're good. By the way, I think Tireless might be, No, maybe not. I was thinking of a different card. But yeah, anyway, that has been the Orvar deck. I had a lot to talk about because I don't do a lot of blue. I mean, I do a decent amount of blue, but I don't, like, really focus on the blue a lot. So it was nice to talk about some of these cards that really don't make it into other decks. Oh yeah, last 2 shoutouts, I promise. Tempest Djinn is another thing that I'm just running because when you play this, it's a 3/4. When it can attack, it's a 4/4, and every turn after that is just gravy. 3 mana for a 4/4. That's base what you're looking at. And then later in the game, it could be like a 7/4 that's just a flying problem for your opponent. And then obviously you're copying it. And then the greatest mill spell that doesn't actually mill in the entire game. the entire game. This one card is so good. Who designed this card? I want to... Whoever designed this card, I both want to kiss and smack in the face. Because I've played this card in Commander games, and it just, like... Sometimes it just snaps an opponent out of existence. Because they're like... Land, 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 land. 1 cost, 2 cost, 1 cost, 1 cost, land, land, 1 cost, 2 cost. And even then, they're like, oh, well, there goes my Ulamog. Crap. No, so this card is just so busted sometimes. But other times it's like, 6 cost, 6 cost, 5 cost. We're done. Well, you'd have to hit one more. But sometimes it hits like 4 cards, but sometimes it hits half their deck and you're just like... I ran for a while a very cheeky standard deck that was just all about casting Tasha's Hideous Laughter while having copy spells. And you just see how many times you could resolve Tasha's Hideous Laughter. And then you finish them off with like a Maddening Cacophony. Not kicked, an unkicked, because they're like the last few cards. But it was mean. It was mean, because your opponent's like, well, look at all this shit I've lost. Thanks for playing the game with me. Alright. With that out of the way, thank you all for watching. If you liked it, consider giving me that thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, what you think I could change, what might improve this deck. I'd really love to hear those. And if you want to see this deck in action, along with Magic the Gathering content daily in general, consider subscribing and checking out my channel. Thank you all for watching. I love your faces. Goodbye.
Drunken Hat.